Mrs. Jones-Gilliam, Mr. Rook, Mrs. Roberts, Mr. Pierce.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for your grace and mercy. For without your grace and mercy, none of us would be here today. As we begin this joint meeting, I pray for the gift of love, grace, and humbleness. Grant all of the interested parties that are gathered here this evening with the wisdom, knowledge, and humility and understanding to make decisions that are in the best interest of all of those we are elected or appointed to serve. I ask that you guide each of us to engage in meaningful and respectful discussions. Please grant us the ability not to allow personal feelings or strife to prevent us from making decisions that we need to make in order to improve the quality of our children's education. And Lord, let those decisions be made with equity and equality. May the integrity of our soul be the source that guides our work this evening. I now place this meeting in your hands, Lord. Amen. Can I get approval of the Greensville County School Board agenda? Can I get a motion? All in favor, let it be known by the sign aye. Aye. All opposed? Having heard none, our agenda has been approved. I believe the city is up now to open their meeting. And after the city opens their meeting, the county will follow.
We're calling the Emporia City Council to order. Ms. Wilkins, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Harris, he's participating virtually. Ms. White. Ms. Temple. Ms. Mercer. Mr. Saunders participating virtually. Mr. Threet. And Ms. Hines.
Okay, thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda? All in favor, let us say the known sign of aye. All opposed? Motion has been carried.
I'd like to call the board and supervisor meeting to order, and can I get a move that we go into the school board session? Been moved in a second that we go into school budget session. Can I get a roll call vote?
Mr. Astrap? Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Kane? Mr. Conwell?
Can I get approval of agenda? Been moved in second to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor? Roll call vote.
Mr. Astrap? Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Kane? Mr. Conwell?
Good evening, school board members, Board of Supervisors, and Mrs. Parson, City Councilors, and Mr. Johnson. It is our pleasure to present to you the Greensville County School Board's approved budget for fiscal year 2022. Before we get started, on behalf of the board, I would like to thank the governing bodies for your support of the school system and particularly our students. This year has been a tough year for all of us. Due to COVID-19, we have had to endure situations that we never thought we would have to endure as a nation, as a community, and definitely as a school system. But I believe that working together, we will continue to not only survive COVID, but we will thrive. Mrs. Parson and staff of the Golden Leaf Commons, thank you for hosting us tonight to make sure that we were all socially distanced and keeping each other safe. So thank you. In your packets tonight, you have the following information: the presentation that you will see on the screen, the recapitulation worksheets, the GCPS budget worksheet worksheet summary outlining in more specific detail the new budget request, the 2022 to 2026 prioritized CIP request, and paper clipped together in the very back of your packet are old CIP requests that have been submitted since 2017, and that's for your bedtime reading. The mission statement of Greensville County Public Schools, which is the driving force and cultivator of excellence, we are committed to educating the whole child, making sure that they achieve their dream of being productive citizens in a competitive global society. And those students will be guided by committed educators in partnership with families, schools, and the entire community. This past school year, we have had to live out this mission statement. No longer were the educators in the schoolhouse solely responsible for educating children, but that partnership of family and home, community and school was very evident last year. And we want to thank our families, our parents, and our communities for working with us as we guided our students during this time. Our agenda tonight is simply to share budget priorities and concerns, to share budget highlights, the savings and increases, to review federal, state, and local revenue, to share our GCPS School Board approved fiscal year 22 budget, and to review capital improvement projects and CARES Act funding. Our budget priorities are to improve student achievement. That is why we are in the game of education, to make sure that our students are achieving at the highest level possible. To address unfinished learning. COVID-19 caused us, as you all know, to shut down schools on March 13th, 2020. And we were out of school for a very, very, very long time. As such, our students' learning halted. And we don't want to say that it is a learning loss, because all learning is a gain. But certainly, we have some unfinished business with our students' learning. And so we will be playing the catch-up game for many, many years to remediate those skills that our students missed during the closing of school, and then to also accelerate them for their new learning at the same time. And in order to address our students, to improve student achievement and address unfinished learning, we definitely need to provide safe facilities. This pandemic has caused us to really take a hard look at our facilities, and one of the mitigating strategies for the COVID-19 pandemic was to make sure that the air quality is of a high quality. And we notice and know that we have issues with that, especially in some of our older buildings. And we've had to address that using some of our CARES funds. Our budget concerns are always the continued reduction in enrollment, an unstable economy, remaining competitive with salaries in order to provide a high-quality learning experience for our students. We need to attract and retain high-quality staff members, and securing funding for capital improvement projects and facilities. And at this time, I will turn it over to Mrs. Hargrove, who is going to share some of our budget highlights, and then I will come back before you and talk about some of the new requests in this current budget.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. As Dr. Evans mentioned, I'm here to go over some budget highlights. Since we receive majority of our funds from the state, let's take a look at a few of the state budget highlights. This is the second year of the biennium. If you know that the state reevaluates their budget every 2 years, this is the second year of the biennium. Every year, sales tax and lottery revenue is updated, so therefore, in this budget, the updated sales tax and lottery revenue was updated. As you can imagine, this was really affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. The economy suffered, and this affected the sales tax revenue. We'll see how that directly affects us in a few slides. Also included in the state's budget is a 5% raise, salary increase for SOQ positions. The state funds SOQ positions, which includes teachers, school counselors, librarians, instructional aides, principals and assistant principals through the SOQ staffing standards. School divisions that certify to DOE that a minimum average compensation supplement of 2% will be provided to all school divisions. If school divisions that provide less than a 5% compensation supplement, but greater than or equal to the 2%, then in the 2022 biennium will receive a prorated state payment. So therefore, there are going to be funds in the state budget up to 5% increase for staff. However, if you decide to give less than that, then that amount that's coming from the state will be prorated. And the state does only fund for SOQ positions. So therefore, we will ask the locality to fund those other positions, just to be fair that everyone gets the same raise. Also, they're restoring state funding for the Virginia Preschool Initiative. A lot of our mandates and initiatives from our last school year's budget was cut because of the pandemic and the loss in state revenue sales tax. So therefore, this budget is restoring those funds. Also, we receive additional state funding for school counselors. There was a mandate put in place last year, and this year we're receiving funding from that. The ratio for all schools is 325 to 1. So therefore, you'll see later on in the request for a school counselor because we need additional counselors according to our student enrollment. There's also providing funding for a no-loss program. And when they say no-loss program, the funds we received this year would be based on actual enrollment from our September 30th student count. And those funds are there to supplement any of the other state funds provided through direct aid for public education. So therefore, we won't see a reduction in our funds for student loss because, you know, we get funded from the state on basis of our ADM. So therefore, if we see a reduction in our enrollment, then we will receive reduction in the state funds. But this is set in place so that we won't experience that this year. Okay, let's look at our budget directly. Let's start with some savings. Always good to find some savings in your budget. This year, we have a savings in the debt service category for a little over $18,000. We're not closing any debt service accounts this year, but we will see some savings from the interest, which comes in at $18,200. There's also quite a few one-time expenditures in this current year's budget that will be available for the next budget cycle, and that amounts to a little over $880,000. So our total savings for next year's budget is $897,882. Okay, and when they come to savings, right around the corner are the increases. Here are some of the mandatory increases in the upcoming budget. Our custodial contract is asking for an increase of 2.2% due to the governor passing the rate change for minimum wage. We had to take on some of that cost, and that's $11,800. Also, there's an increase in our maintenance contract due to equipment coming off of warranties and, um, and going on to our preventive maintenance plan. So that increase would be $15,200. And also, we are experiencing another increase in health insurance this time. Not a major one, but 3.7% increase, which totals us $71,470, which totals our mandatory increases in this budget would be $98,470. Now let's take a look at the potential impact these initiatives will have on our schools with state revenue. First of all, as I mentioned before, we are compensated on a per pupil basis for state revenue. Last year's budgeted ADM was $2,075. This year's budget will be based on 2,040 students. That's a reduction of 35 students. Therefore, if the enrollment goes down, so will our state revenue. So let's see where we stand. The first category is the standards of quality programs. That holds all of our sales tax, our basic aid, our retirement, all the programs we need to operate as a school division. We are seeing a decrease in that, a little over 52,000, and that is because of our enrollment. Our enrollment is still decreasing. However, the next category is our incentive programs. And in that category, you see that we see a hefty increase, a little over $1 million there, because that is where our no-loss funding is housed and also our compensation supplement for the 5%. Our categorical programs will be decreased by a little over almost $50,000, and that is due to a decrease in the area of homebound services. Our lottery-funded programs will see an increase because of at-risk funding. We're receiving additional at-risk funding. And then, unfortunately, our food service department will see a decrease of $13,000. They are reimbursed they are compensated on a reimbursement status. So therefore, with 2020, we're going to see that decrease of $13,000. So overall, though, we are seeing an increase in our state funding of $1.7 million. Okay, now to the local funding. I'm pretty sure you all are familiar with the Local Composite Index, also known as the LCI. The composite index determines the school division's ability to pay education costs to the Commonwealth's standards of quality. Those are those programs that's required. Virginia calculates a composite index of local ability to pay every 2 years. This is the second year of the biennium, so you operated on this index last year as well. The composite index is calculated using 3 indicators of the locality's ability to pay. That's the true value of real property, adjusted gross income, and taxable retail sales. And so that's how the composite index is calculated. Also, required local effort is calculated from school divisions annually to show that the degree to which each school has met, failed to meet, or suppressed its required local expenditure in support of the standards of quality. Each locality, the city council and the board of supervisors has always met the required local effort and beyond. The required local effort is for those SOQ programs that are required to operate. The required local match is those programs that we choose to participate in, such as like the Virginia Preschool Initiative. And we would like to thank you for all of your funding throughout the years and how you have been over and beyond funding us with the required local effort in meeting those requirements. On a state average, all school divisions meet this match and go over about 89%, so we're thankful for that. Okay, here's a pie graph of our revenue sources. As you can see, the majority of our funds come from the state at 58%. Next is you all, the city and the county funds at 27%. And then our federal funds increased this year at 13% and our other funds at 2%. And those other funds include things like our rebates, E-rate reimbursement, rents of school buses and different local funds on that basis. And you're up, that is. Okay, thank you, Dr. Evans. I skipped the slide with federal revenue. Let me just go back. Okay. On the federal side of things, our federal funds operate a little differently than our other funding. They don't necessarily coincide with our fiscal year, which runs from July to June. Most of the grants end in September of each year. So the figures that I have here are adjusted to add in unencumbered funds that would carry over into next fiscal year. And also remember that expenditures for these funds have already been approved by grant applications. And these applications have been amended as needed, and funds would be encumbered by the due date. With that being said, let's see if we have an increase in the following programs. Title I is our programs that we use at GES and BES. Title II is our grant funding that we use for professional development. Title IV assist us with student support and healthy classrooms. Title IV is our rural and low income, which assists us with preschool initiatives and family engagement. Our Title VI-B grant is for our student with special needs in early childhood special education. Our 21st Century grants are for our after-school programs or before-school programs. And our Perkins grant funds our CTE programs. So all of these will experience an increase in the coming year. However, our food service department, which receives a grant from the USDA, will see a decrease of $37,185 due to the decrease in enrollment in food service. So that subtotals $625,561. However, this year we received several different funds of CARES Act funding from the federal government. They have really been generous in trying to help us through this pandemic. The second round is what I have included in the budget, and we call that the ESSER II funds. And for these funds, we are receiving a little over $3.3 million. So therefore, the overall increase for federal funding will be approximately $3.9 million.
And as you can imagine, with those increased federal funds comes increased scrutiny and increased directions on what you can use those funds for and what you cannot use those funds for. So our new budget request for the upcoming year includes that increase in our health insurance, our increases that Mrs. Hargrove spoke about with the custodial services contract and in the Honeywell contract for equipment and services. Personnel is the largest portion of our budget this year. As the school division continues to focus on transforming our school system, it is important that we have the right people in place. Thanks to the governing body's support last year, we were able to split that assistant superintendent position into two positions, one that focuses solely on instruction and the other that focuses on human resources. And as we continue to move towards full accreditation, we are focused on providing the instructional support to meet the needs of all of our students and the mandates of the state. We know that when our students return to in-person learning, they will have great instructional needs, and we need to be ready to address those needs. The school board is dedicated to attracting and retaining a quality workforce, and that dedication is reflected in our budget by a 3% raise and step increase. And if you want to see these, I'm not going to go over every new budget request in detail, but if you look in your packet, you will see a green sheet packet that looks like this. It's green. It goes over each one of the new requests in great detail. And it also tells where it is connected to our corrective action plan. And I did not say this, and I don't think it needs to be said, because I think we all know that Greensville County Public Schools is operating under a memorandum of understanding with the State Department of Education and has a corrective action plan in place. So these positions, each position is listed here, and we will highlight some of them. The state has also revisited the mandate to provide more counselors in the school division and has reduced the per-student ratio to 325. In order to meet this mandate, we need to hire 2 full-time counselors. Testing is a huge responsibility that the state is shifting away from guidance counselors. They want guidance counselors to serve more as counselors to students, advising them on the correct courses to take, how to prepare for graduation and beyond, and not so much on testing. However, testing is still a huge part of our program. We test almost all year long at the high school because we are on a 4x4 schedule. The middle school has 2 courses that's on the 4x4, so they are testing more frequently. And at the elementary school, there has been a jump in testing because they are now able to do expedited retakes. So if you score within a certain point from your passing proficient rate of your SOL, you can take it again, which increases the number of tests that are offered in the school. So the board has dedicated resources to providing school test coordinators to prepare for and take care of the testing in the schools, to provide the data, analyze the data, and share that data with administration. At Wyatt Middle School, we are seeing a need for an instructional coach. When we get to the higher levels and our students are 3 and 4 years behind, that calls for a special skill set in order to teach our children. If you are a secondary teacher, you know your content pretty well. And let's take reading for an example. You can teach those strategies and teach those contents. You may not have all the skills that you need to teach a beginning reader at the secondary level. And you wouldn't need that because the expectation is at that grade level, the students are proficient. And so we need some support because literacy continues to be an issue for Greensville County Public Schools. And we have a lot of attention and focus there at the elementary school, but we also have noticed we need it at the secondary level as well. Virtual learning has taken a toll on all of our students, and especially our students with disabilities will need additional support when they return to school. Therefore, the school board supports the hiring of an educational diagnostician and a compliance specialist. Students with individual education plans and 504 plans their accommodations must be monitored closely. And if we are not providing the services that are required in the student's IEP or 504 plan, then we become out of compliance, and that, my friends, is a big problem. So we need someone to make sure that we are in compliance with these IEPs and 504 plans from pre-K all the way up to 12th grade. Some of our smaller personnel items includes the change of our instructional technology resource teachers to 11 months and an additional computer technician. Virtual learning shifted Greensville County Public Schools to a 1-to-1 division almost overnight. When our students went home in March of 2020, we still had to provide learning opportunities for them. And we had to provide every student with a device in order to access their learning opportunities. We were not a one-to-one device. In the buildings, we had devices, but every child did not have one at the elementary level, pre-K through 5th grade. At the middle school level, they had a device, but they did not take it home. And at the high school, they could take their devices home. Well, we went to a one-to-one division instantly so that we could continue to provide services to our students, which means that our 3-person technology department has been working overtime to not just secure the devices that we needed, but to make sure they were imaged and cleaned up properly so that we could not access sites that are inappropriate for our students. And then they had the task of when the device broke, they had to fix it. When the student could not get into the device, they had to help them. So we're looking for an additional computer technician to support all of these devices that we have in place. And our instructional resource teachers were amazing during this time, and they had to help our teachers adjust to virtual teaching and learning. So their workload almost tripled since March of 2020 because they had to provide the support to not just teachers, but administration and the superintendent to make sure that we were providing students with what they need. The increase in technology, of course, we know is due to the pandemic. There are some other personnel things that's there as well. We have a new program, the Virginia Graduates program, and that program is designed to assist students with choosing a career path to follow and help them find jobs after high school if they choose not to go off to college. Our instructional programs have all been vetted by our Department of Instruction and our liaison with the Department of Education, Dr. Johnson. Our programs are selected with the purpose of providing support, instructional support to our students in the form of unfinished learning. We know that when our students come back, we're going to have to provide remediation, intervention, and acceleration for our students. We're going to have to provide that in the small group setting. We're going to have to provide that support in the learning labs, and we're going to have to provide that support before and after school. And so we know that our students can now access learning at home, and these programs will continue to help us help them while they're at home because they can still access these programs and get the help that they need when they come to school the next day. Some of these programs, and I need to talk to the board about this, so Ms. Dunn, please don't kill me because I haven't talked to you about this yet. But many of these programs can be used. We have a new round of CARES funds coming that we know of. And so we're looking at these programs to see if these programs can be purchased using our CARES funds money. And because this is the board's approved budget, I could not make that decision without talking to the board first. And so we'll discuss that at our April 12th board meeting. Next, we have our departmental request, and each department submits requests for different items, and those items are listed. We want to look at a new accounting software, and for our transportation department, we're looking at diagnostic scan tools, and we want to provide professional development for our bus drivers and our mechanics. We are all about teaching and learning, And sometimes in the school division, we don't promote that for some of the classes of employees. And our transportation department is making sure that our most precious resources are safe on the road. And so they need to be able to continue their learning and know all of the latest tricks of the trade to make sure that our buses and our cars are running effectively. We also have just the typical split units when items are out of warranty or they're old and need to be replaced. General yearly maintenance contracts that we have that you all see every year, and also like our technology maintenance contracts that you guys see every year as well. Our career and technical education program, we are definitely looking at what programs can we offer our students to make sure that those students who choose to go straight to work after high school are able and ready to do that. And we just can't pick any old program because we need student interest. And so our students have completed surveys to give their interest, and one of the newest programs that will be introduced to Greensville County High School, should this budget be approved, is a nail tech program. Our students express great interest in that, and we are trying very hard to make sure that in addition to offering programs that are viable for them, we need to make sure that we have student interest, because you cannot invest a ton of money into a program that you don't have students sign up for and complete. Our capital improvement operating projects, and in this coming budget, we have a few items that we need to address. Our transportation department, replacing the bay doors at the bus garage. At the high school and middle school, the cover cap stones to keep the water from running in between the buildings, between the walls of the building. At GES, the gutter repair or replacement. And also at GES, we have had a water issue that's been present since almost, I think, the construction of the school. And we have contacted someone to come out and take a look and tell us what is the problem, so that we do not have water when it rains hard. And I wonder about today, will we have water in the electrical sockets in some of our classrooms? So we have someone that's coming out to take a look and find out what that problem is. And then the I Believe Academy, which is our program for alternative students. And we have included here renovation of the facility for the I Believe Academy. And that I Believe Academy is going to be a program for our students who, for whatever reason, are not successful in the regular school setting. However, we can't just throw those kids away, and we can't just put them in a building like Welcome Back Cotter because we don't want to deal with you anymore. We don't like you, we don't like your people. Just go over here and sit in a corner and leave us alone. We are still obligated to educate those children, and we need to do so in a way that will cause them to want to change their behavior so that they can return back to their regular home environment. But it has to be innovative, it must be engaging, and it has to be more than complete this worksheet. And that's where, in this program, everybody in this room is going to be important. And that's because you have a story to tell. I could have easily been in an alternative school program. Don't tell nobody. I used to be a fighter. Okay? I could have easily been in that program. But Janie Williams, my 10th grade teacher, saw what you see standing in front of you today back then when I didn't even see it. And she talked to me. She called me a lady. I like that. I was like, wow, I'm a lady. Well, let me act like a lady. And so that's when you're going to play a role with those students and help them understand that there's something more than just what they see, that there's a whole world out there waiting on them. Not that they're waiting on the world is waiting on them and the gift that they have to give. We just have to cultivate it. We just have to see beyond that facade that they put up and tell them, I believe in you. You can do this, and we will do this together. One of the things that you hear me say, when I started here, there was a lot of talk about firing people. Fire this one, fire that one, fire this one. We don't just throw people away. You don't do that. Now, everybody's not going to come along with you, right? But we have an obligation, especially to our students, to grow them, to put them in the best environment that they can be in and watch them work. You'll be surprised at what you will get from them when you tell them, and not just tell them, but show them that you believe in them. And you let them see a little bit different than what they've been seeing, you'll be surprised at what they would do for you. So I'm excited about the I Believe Academy. I am, because it's going to reach a population that many feel is unreachable. And I just don't believe that's true. We just have to do something different with that population, because what we're doing does not necessarily work. So that is a summation, and Alicia's going to give you all the numbers and all that kind of good stuff of our new budget requests.
Now, just to look at our budget summary, this is the budget summary as it refers to expenditures. These are the categories that we use: instruction, administration and health, people transportation, operations and maintenance, school food service, facilities, debt service, and technology. With all of the new expenditures and the mandatory increases, the total expenditures come to $38,570,128. Here's looking at it in a different format. As you know, our business is education, and as you can see that the majority of our expenditures are categorized under the instructional category. Next comes in operations and maintenance at 8%. 7% is for our transportation department, followed by our food service at 5%, and our administration and health at 4%, and then shared 3% by the debt service and technology categories. All right, the bottom line, the final budget summary with all the new requests that Dr. Evans just mentioned, our mandatory increases, our new budget total is around $38 million. We are anticipating receiving state funds at a little over $19.5 million. Our federal funds are coming in at $8.1 million. Other funds are coming in at $550,000. Therefore, that leaves an amount of local funds needed for this school budget will be a little over $10.3 million. That's an increase of $609,319 in local funds compared to this school's budget. Our budget this year is increasing by $6.2 million. However, with the increases in state and federal funds, we're just asking you for an additional $609,000 over what we received last year. This is a snippet of the revenue summary that's in your packet. I know the writing is probably small there, but this is inside of your packet. The red box is the amount that you that was allotted to us for this budget school year, and the upcoming budget is the one that's in green. At the far right-hand side, you can see the differences, our increases in our state funds, federal funds, the amount of our operations, and then the decrease for the debt service gives the additional cost of $609,319 requested from our local governing bodies. Okay, and Dr. Evans and I will talk about the capital improvement projects.
In your packet, because the capital improvement projects here is pretty small, but you have that sheet. Oh. Mhm. I'm not going the wrong way. Sorry. So you have this sheet also in your packet. And each December, the school board presents to the county the capital improvement project request. And it's normally on a 4 or 5 year cycle. And we always say that one of the questions is, all right, when are you ready to proceed? And we always say, whatever year it is, like now, we are ready to proceed. Realizing that, and those of you who've been here since I've been here, I've said this since I've been here, there is no money tree, and you can't shake money out of a tree. I wish we could. I would have some nice shoes. But we have to make a plan for how we are going to address facilities with committed funding moving forward. And we don't have that. We have our request, and then each year we don't really know what's going to be budgeted or approved. But long-term, we have to start thinking about facilities, because our facilities are not in the best shape, especially the high school and especially Bellefield. And the longer we wait, the worse the condition of the schools will be, and the higher the price tag is going to go. So we've been very fortunate and very blessed this year to receive those CARES funds. This second round of CARES funds did allow for us to address some building needs. And you will see on our budget request, CARES funding, because we have included those items in our current application. And CARES funding will take care of those, okay? What you see highlighted in green are items that we will put into this next round of CARES funding for building needs. Mind you, we can't just say, you've given us this money, we're gonna do what we want to do with it. It must be approved. But we put that in there to show a good faith that we are willing to work with both governing bodies and use the funding sources that we have to also address our facility needs. The roof repairs at E.W. Wyatt, that's in orange, because we're not quite sure yet if that is an allowable expense. So we're checking and asking. I wanted to do the don't ask, don't tell, the just put it in there, see if it'll go. But I felt that it was important that I highlight that to you all, because we're not sure if that will be approved with this next round of CARES funding. But we are using the CARES funding as allowable to take care and address some of these capital needs as well. So we did want to highlight that to you, and I cannot emphasize enough the need for a long-range plan for school facilities. And it's not going to happen overnight, but we have to start somewhere with that. And it could be in 2025, we're gonna do this, and then in 2028, we're gonna do that, and then in 2030, we're gonna do this. But that's important to have so that when the school system, I don't think too much more CARES money is gonna come our way, but we can better utilize these funds if we know where we're going. And it also helps us present a better budget because we're not asking for things if we know that in 2 years, this is gonna be taken care of. In 3 years, this is going to be taken care of. But the longer we wait to do that, the worse conditions our schools will be in, and the higher the price tag is going to go. So we just wanted to share with you these requests and how we are using our CARES funds to take care of them. And a new building, a new high school, a new Belfield Elementary, we have to start having those conversations for how we are going to do that. GES is our newest school, and it's time for a new roof for GES. And that's gonna be a pretty penny. So we have to come to the table and work together to address the needs. And, you know, I've talked about the schools because that's where our kids and our teachers are. But the bus transportation, maintenance, the school board office. As we talked about COVID-19, you know how sometimes you know something, but you don't really pay attention to something? There is no window in that building. So when you talk about air quality, there's no window. To go open a window. If we think we hear rain, we have to get up and go look out the door to see, is it raining? Is that rain, Alicia? So when we start thinking about our facilities, and we talk about what we want our students to be able to know and be able to do, when we talk about attracting and retaining high-quality staff, then we need to make sure that our facilities are conducive to the learning that we expect our students to achieve, and also for our teachers to teach in. So, thank you for listening. Thank you all for coming out in the rain tonight. We appreciate being able to share this with you. We will entertain questions at this time, or if you need time, like I would, to digest and think about it, you can share your questions with either Mr. Johnson or Ms. Parson, and we will be glad to send a response to you. Ms. Dunn, would you like to have any words or go from there?
I'd like to thank Dr. Evans.
Good evening. I've been designated to ask a couple of questions. I think one of them, both of them might have already been answered, but I'm going to do what I was asked. It appears all debt saving has been taken into the operations budget. Is that correct? And does this budget include any portions of the CIP request list?
Can you repeat your question about the debt service again?
It appears all debt service savings has been taken into the operations budget.
Yeah, so every year, the debt service is a piece of the operating budget. So whenever I see a savings in there, it comes out of there every year.
Okay.
Is that what you're asking?
That's how I'm interpreting the request, yes. And then the second question is, this is not my question, but I'm going to ask it the way it was sent.
Sure.
One more question. The Santa Claus Biden's program includes any possible capital funding? And I do believe you answered that a few minutes ago, but I'm just asking the question.
As far as repairs or upkeep, but new buildings, new facilities, no.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions today? Comments? Well, I'd like to thank Dr. Evans and her staff for that very detailed budget that she presented to all of us. I'd like to thank the county and the city for the support that they have given the school division over the years. And I do hope that when you look over our budget, you will be as convinced as we are that we need every penny that we're asking for in our operating budget and our capital improvement budget, and that soon and very soon, we will all come together and start that plan for capital improvement that Dr. Evans just mentioned. Because she is so right. The longer we put it off, the higher it's going to get. And nothing is going to go away. That high school is not going to get any better. It's going to get worse. So we need to do it now, you know. We tend to put things off, but what we need in capital improvement needs to be done now. But once again, we thank you all for listening. At this time, if everyone is sure that their hearts and minds are clear, I'd like to ask the city to adjourn their meeting first, then the county will follow, and then I will adjourn the Greensville County Public School Board meeting.
I just want to say thanks to Dr. Evans and her staff for the information. I do have to look over it to see, and if there are questions, I will let Mr. Johnson know.
Thank you.
All right, I would like a motion to adjourn. All in favor, let it be known by the sign aye. Meeting is adjourned.
Can I get a move that we are Board of Supervisor adjourn until Friday the 2nd? Been moved and second that we adjourn until Friday. All in favor? Aye.
Now, can I have a motion that the Greensville County Public School Board be adjourned, please? Janet made the motion, so you're going to second? Okay. All in favor, let it be known by the sign aye. Aye. All opposed? Haven't heard none? The Greensville County Public School Board is adjourned, and our joint meeting is now officially adjourned. Thank you, and everybody be safe.
Thank you.